Okay, so I got something for you today. I wonder sometimes if my body is plotting against me. Okay, is that paranoia or what? Okay, so let me preface this a little bit. As I get older, I am increasingly aware that I'm getting older and that there's an expiration date out there somewhere. And as much as I rebel against the idea, I know it's a part of life. Okay, and so I find myself more often um, taking a look at other folks who are older, especially in their, say, 70s or 80s or 90s, and thinking, how are they doing at their age? And what can I look forward to? And I often, especially tune into the folks who seem to be active and vibrant and alive at 70, 80, and 90, and think, okay, they're doing good. So there's hope for me that I'm not just going to start falling apart, right? And I look at folks that are, I met a guy the other day. He was 83, I think. Actually, the other day is not accurate. That was probably pre world illness stuff. So he's now probably 87, 88, something like that. I don't know. Those lost years, factor those in. But at any rate, he, he's out there surfing most every day. He's not carving waves like he used to do, but he's out there being active and living life. And I think, well, that's 20 years or so from where I'm at, a little more than 20 years. And that's good. My dad passed away at 86, I think, and he was doing good right up there till the end when the cancer got him. And, I think I'm 62 now. I always have to do the math. 62 now, and I'm not old. Daggone it. And I don't want to start telling myself and thinking that, yeah, you're old, because when we have that self-talk, sometimes we become that. And so part of that's, you can say, oh, well, you're just in denial. Well, again, we create our reality. So if I think old, I surround myself with your old thoughts and your old limits and all that kind of stuff, then I will start thinking and acting old. So I don't really want to do that. I'm not fooling myself that I'm, my mid-30s or something like that anymore. But, it's funny because speaking of which, I think it was about my mid-30s or so when I really kind of stopped thinking about age and worrying about age so much. And so I guess in my head, I kind of am back in my 30s or 40s. And I don't know, age is kind of irrelevant as a general rule as far as how I think of myself, or at least how I have been thinking about myself. Lately, I start to factor that in more, and I don't like that. And I don't want it to influence my thinking. I want to think young, feel young, act young. And I want to do that realistically. I don't want to be some denial thing and some sort of toxic happiness thing or whatever, toxic positivity. But it's a balance, and it's a balance that I think is a different dimension as we get older to how do we do being older, right? And so I'm trying to learn that and not be in denial, be realistic, but also be in control of it as much as I can. So I have been, for quite a while now, changing how I live my life, being more conscious of naps, of getting good sleep, of what I'm eating, trying to do whole foods and organic foods and healthy foods as opposed to processed foods as much and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good on that front. I'm trying to get out more. I live in an environment which has really, it's a really great environment, good fresh air and all of that. I try to be in and around the water as much as I can at the ocean, which is nearby. I try to fill my thoughts with positive things as opposed to negative things and not get myself in the frenzy of worrying about all the stuff that's going wrong in the world right now and all that kind of stuff. And, that's inescapable to a certain degree, but I don't want to fill my mind with that. So all of these things I think are good things. I've got one of those little vibration plates now that I use and trying to incorporate that more into a daily thing. And all these things I think as well as exercising and walking and doing all these things, I think are good, necessary, positive things as I get older to help keep me in shape and keep my body healthy and my mind healthy. And these are all good things. But I do pay attention to older folks and, and realize that I'm not very far away from being older folk myself. And it's funny, that sliding scale of age, isn't it? Because I remember when I was, say, a teenager in my 20s, and 40 seemed pretty old, and 50, yeah, that's old. 60, that's ancient, and then beyond that, it's just like crazy. And now that I'm 62, I've slid that scale along where 60 is not all that old anymore, and 70 is really, that's only 10 years away. That's not really very old, and I don't know, 120 doesn't even seem all that old. So it's a weird little sliding scale, and it's just funny, isn't it, how our perspective changes, and it should, depending where we are in it. And we have these notions when it's afar off of how we kind of size it up and categorize it and all that kind of stuff. But it's different when we're living it. And I have friends and know folks who have been, they consider themselves old and have for decades, where at 40 they seemed old because they told themselves they were old, and they acted old, and they thought old. And like I said, I've met folks who are 20 years older than me now who are still acting, living, and thinking younger, and that's pretty cool. And that's what I want to embody and be part of. So anyway, all that to preface this, and this is this mystery thing that is, I don't know what to do with this, okay? So I'm really curious as to your thoughts on this, especially if you've experienced this, or if you got some secret insight to the universe, all right? Part of getting old, I've always thought, especially if you enter what I call the aches and pains club, but, we all have known folks as they get old where it's like, sitting up and down off the couch, or just getting up or reaching something on the floor or higher up or picking something up seems to be more of a strenuous thing. And so it's accompanied with the grunts and groans and sighs and sounds of getting older and of experiencing things in a more strenuous way. Well, I am at a spot where every now and then I catch myself making what I would call old man noises as I get up out of my chair, or as I bend over to pick something up, or I squat down or kneel down to get something that's more at a floor level. And I don't know if I do it very often, and I like to think I'm pretty aware of it whenever I do. But those times that I do it, I stop and I do the whole head to toe self-check. And this is really weird in that, okay, this wasn't strenuous. I was in no pain, no ache, no discomfort. None of those things that were going on that would have led to me making the noises of effort. So why am I making the noises of effort? Why am I making the noises of discomfort or pain? And that's not there. Is it my body trying to get ready and prepare for those times when it is? Is it the power of suggestion of those around me, or that now that I'm kind of thinking, hey Ricky, you're not young anymore, you're older, is the body saying, oh, execute the old programs, let's start the sounds and noises of somebody who's older now? What is it? Because those things in my head would accompany the feels, and I don't have those feels, so why am I making the noises? And I don't do it all the time, but when I do, I kind of stop, almost like, what was that? And I'm paying attention to it, and I'm going through the whole list in my head, okay, arms, bodies, feet, toes, all that kind of stuff, and nothing is correlating with those sounds. And I don't know, have you experienced that? That's just really weird to me, and it just makes me feel like there's been some sort of programming downloaded and it's executing, and I don't want to run that app. Why am I running that app? And so anyway, it has me kind of mystified. I don't know. Have you experienced that? Because it is really weird to me, and I don't know what to think of it because it does not compute, and it should, right? So anyway, this is weird, and surely I'm not the only one, right? But anyway, if you have heard about this, if you've experienced this, if you know anything about it, I'd be really curious to know what your thoughts are on this because it has got me mystified. It's weird, right? Anyway, help me out, will you? Thanks. Catch you later.